get started with building out a custom ribbon. So what is a ribbon? A ribbon is this top area. So the default objects in PowerPoint are going to be home, insert, draw, design, all that good stuff. So when you start using PowerPoint and you start to figure out what buttons you like to use, you can build this. So I think this is a really great key piece of, there's a lot of stuff up there at the top and it can be overwhelming. So basically just being able to take those different shapes and drop them in. And before I get with that, Coach Katz is monitoring the chat as well. So if you've got any questions, you can throw them in there. He'll do his best to interrupt me. If not, we can always reach back at the end and kind of go through that some of that stuff. So I need to make sure I made that nugget in there. All right. So to build out your custom ribbon, you'll go up here to File, and then you'll select Options down here in the bottom left-hand corner. When you click that, you've got two options here: Customize Ribbon and Quick Access Toolbar. That's what we're going to focus on. So I'll go to Customize Ribbon, and then I always like to change this up at the top and go to All Commands, because what that does is now that will open up this entire list of PowerPoint objects for you to be able to work through and be able to pull. But over on the right side, you got your main tabs, and then inside of Home, I can hit New Tab. So when I select New Tab, you'll now see it says Custom. So if you just click Rename, now I can change that. Call it football, call it your name. It's unique to your computer. What's great about this is actually a file that you can export. So if you build something for your coaching staff, you can share it with other guys on staff, and then they can import the same exact functions that you use. So if you wanted to standardize everybody's computers on your staff, this is a great chance to do it. So I hit OK. And then the first thing I always try to do, I start trying to add things immediately. But I'm working in the main tab. You have to build out different groups. So you may have a drawing section, you may have an alignment section. You can build it however you want it. But same thing, click Rename. So I'm just going to change the display name down here to Drawing. Hit OK, hit Enter. So now I've got my custom group for drawing. So one of the things I always add is my shapes. So if I go down to, you've got Save, you've got Shapes, you've got different things, and then, you know, anything that you want to draw. Blanking on the name, you got to love it. So let me go back to main tabs, and then I'll be able to pull it exactly. So I can go into Home and then Drawing, which is where I always know to pull it. And now I can hit Add. So now I've added that shape. So one of the main shapes that we're going to use tonight is going to be the freeform tool. The only problem, freeform tool is not its own button. So you always have to go into Shapes to be able to pull that down. But not too bad, but just understand that's where it is, and it won't live, and it can't get pulled out. So I'm going to add Shape Fill, change outline color. If you use 3D or if you use shadows or anything like that, you can add shape effects. Typically, the last one I use is just Format Shape. So there's my custom drawing section. So I'm going to go back to football. I'm going to hit New Group, and now we're going to change this one to Alignment. So things that I like in the alignment are going to be the Arrange Objects. So I can hit that, drop that in. So that's your Arrange Object to the left, to the right, to the center, middle, top, center, bottom. And then the last one that I always typically do, and you can add as many of these as you want, but just from a timing standpoint, I'm going to add Distribute horizontally and vertical. So I hit the D key, E key, it'll slide down. So there is Distribute horizontally. Here's Distribute vertically. So now what I've done is I've added my football tab and dropped this in. If you are a Pro Quick Draw user, you can even add your PQD buttons directly to this tab as well. Coach Robinson on our staff has showed me that, learned that trick, and I think that was a really good nugget. So for those of you that are customers already, you can take your toggle panel, drop it in there. You can hit your edit button, save as. So now you really only have one section that you typically work within on a day-to-day basis. But once you're done there, you hit OK. Now up at the top, I should see my football tab. So there it is. I've just got a couple from a time standpoint. But like I said, you can build out little building blocks of what you want, being able to throw that in there. Format background is a good one to throw in. So that's your ribbon. The next section is your customize, your quick access toolbar. So I talked earlier about your Visio shortcuts. This is a great nugget here because there is no Control H to flip horizontally. There is no Control J to flip it vertically. So by building out my quick access ribbon, I've now programmed PowerPoint to have those. So if I go to shapes, and I'm just going to add 2 shapes right here. All right. So if I highlight and I've selected them both, to get to flip horizontal, I've got to go to arrange, got to go to align. I got to go to rotate, flip horizontal. That's a lot of clicks trying to get to that one spot. So by building my custom ribbon, I can either click flip horizontal right here. I can flip vertical, or if you group them together, now when I go flip horizontal, it will flip both of them. So if you've got individual objects selected, it's only going to flip those internal objects. If you group everything as a whole, it will flip the whole picture right there for you. So that's if you click it. So how do I get to my shortcut? You'll go to the Alt key on your keyboard. And when you hit Alt, you'll see all these little buttons that pop up. And that's your way to program it. So if I wanted to go to the animations tab, I would hit Alt and then I hit the A key. And that takes you to the animations tab. So if I want to go back to home, I can go Alt. So that should load back up. And then I go H to go home. So now if I grab those objects and they're grouped, I can go Alt and hit 2 because that's what I've got programmed in there. So now when I hit Alt 2, it'll flip it. So what does it look like to build that? It's the same exact process of what we did for customized ribbon. So I'm going to go to File, Options, Quick Access Toolbar. And then this is on the right side. You will add those objects to the right. One thing to keep in mind is if you're very simple, you would put 9 of these up here because now you've got Alt 1 through 9. When you start getting in 10, 11, 12, it starts adding in other buttons that you got to click, type, push, all that good stuff. You ultimately end up clicking as much as you were typing as much as you were clicking. So try to keep that between 1 and 9. And that's just some good stuff that you can throw in there. So if you want to bring the front, you just hit the add button. That will take it over there to the right. Same thing as before. If you wanted to export this from one machine to another, if you were using this at work, you wanted the same setup at home, don't build it twice, just export and import that file using that button right there. So big thing out of those two, customize your ribbon so you can create your own football tab. Number 2, customize your quick access toolbar so that way you can use your own custom hotkeys. All right. Next up, we're going to start building out basically our own shape library. So what is a shape library? When you start drawing a bunch, a lot of guys will get into the habit of finding a drawing. You got to open up a different document, find where it is, copy it, paste it. But if you've got multi-monitors, one of the best things that you can do is on your left screen, that's where you're going to draw. So you got a blank slate. Your right screen is basically where you've got your own individual PowerPoint with all the different shapes. Well, what shapes would I put in there? Maybe put in all 22 so you can grab an entire offense and defense and start drawing. Maybe have a section in there that's just offensive formations. Maybe one that's just defensive fronts and coverages. Then you've got your route trees. You've got your wide receiver route tree, a tight end route tree, a running back route tree. But you can start to use this to basically build out your own library and be able to easily copy and paste those in. For the PQD users, you're just basically building your own shape library that you can import into the Play Editor tool and double click and attach those objects right there however you want it. But tonight's really just going to concentrate on drawing in PowerPoint, and I'll always slip in those little nuggets of how to make that work with PQD. So we're first going to start with our design tab. You have to make a decision when you get rolling on what you want your drawings to look like. So if I'm taking my playbook and I'm going to send it to Huddle, send it to Quick Cut, import it, DV Sport Catapult, whatever it is that you're using, think about the device that you're presenting on. So if you're sending it to players' iPads or your TV in your classroom, work on a 16:9. And when I say 16:9, that's the aspect ratio of the slide. So if you go up here to design, up in the top right, you've got slide size. So you've got 2 standard slide sizes that you can use. Standard is 4:3, widescreen is 16:9. Why would I want to go 4:3? Well, if you're printing landscape, scout cards, things like that, 4:3 looks pretty good. It'll convert pretty good, not like 100%, but enough to get you there to where you don't have to change a lot. Widescreen, like I said, is going to be more for your TV, iPad presentations. If you're sending something and you know your players are working on it by their phone, just change the layout of a 16:9, and now I can go to portrait mode. So when you change it to portrait, this is what it would look like on a player's cell phone when they pulled it up on their device. So just think about what is your end goal of however it is that you're trying to create that content. And that's how you really want to lay out all of your designs and your drawings. So I'm going to go back to slide size. And if you're going with a portrait 8.5 by 11, you want to go to custom. And then PowerPoint has already got some drop downs. Let me get a little water here. Sorry. PowerPoint's already got some drop downs for you. So if I choose widescreen and you choose letter paper 8.5 by 11, it will automatically create those settings. Here's a nugget. If you're using the 365 stuff and you're trying to create your own template, or even if you're using PC, PowerPoint takes off an inch of the actual margins on that page. So don't put 8.5 by 11 on here. It needs to be 7.5 by 10. Couldn't tell you why, but just over the years, that's what I've noticed. So I choose letter paper, I hit OK, and maximize and sure fit, nothing's on the page, so either one of those work. So now I've created a page that is your old school 3-ring binder. We go to Control P to print it. That's essentially what it would look like. So really have a good understanding of what you want the design of your slide to really look like. And then from there, you start to try and figure out, how do I want to build my drawings? How do I want things to look? So I'm not going to draw on this 8.5 by 11. I'm just going to get into a basic drawing. So I'm just going to go to Control N, which is my new PowerPoint. All right, so we're going to delete out this box. And then the next thing that you have to think of is, are you going digital with this or are you printing this? If you are printing, don't waste ink. Keep it black and white, because you're going to end up running up a hell of a printer bill at that time if you start going color. So if you go black and white, get it set up to where that's the only thing that you're working. But if you're going to go digital, really try and do a good job of figuring out what your color customization would be. For me and what I've just seen over the years, everybody typically color codes based off of personnel. So find what receivers, what color are they always going to be, whether it's your playbook, whether it's a scout card, have a standardized look to it. So for me, receivers are red, tight ends are blue, backs are green or yellow, depending on where I'm at. So you have a standard of what that looks like. And then the next part would be, what do you want your routes or your blocks to look like? Do they match the color of the player? Or are all my routes black and then I've got a hot route that the quarterback is reading and that route is actually red? Find a way to standardize what you want that to look like. So no matter what your drawing is, your kids are always fully in understanding of what it is and what everything means. But you've got your own system. You've got everything that you want to be able to do. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to start dropping in different player icons to build out my own shape library. So we're always going to start with a center. I'm going to go up here to shapes. We're going to grab our rectangle. And then the next thing is, are you a circles coach or are you an ovals coach? I'm not going to judge whatever you do. Everybody's got their own style and look to it, but you want everybody to really be the same size. So if you're going with ovals, make your center be wider than he is taller. And then after you've drawn that center, you'll see up here, it already locks into shape format. If you want, you can make it, 4 by 5, 3 by 5, whatever it is, but find what it is that you want, but always use the height and the width up here at the start to standardize that. It just makes it easier and it's just a little bit more clear and concise. So now I know that I'm going 4 by 5. Well, I'm going to get into Format Painter here. So I want the shape fill to be white. I'm going to change my shape outline to black. And then I change my shape outline weight to 2.5, 3, for whatever it is that you want. But if you go to more lines, then you can get into a little bit more customization there on however you want that thickness to look. So I'm just going to go 2 by 5. For me, I always make the offensive line a shape fill color. The reason for that is if you've got a shape fill color set, you can easily grab that shape and move it around. If you set it as no fill, there's nowhere to grab inside of that line. So you always have to click the edge of that line to grab it. So that's why I always put a white fill in there. It's just my personal particular preference, but at least allows you to give you a little bit more room on what you want to click. Well, now I'm going to grab the oval tool. We're going to draw our little oval. And if you've got your guide set up, like right there, those arrows that are going left and right, that's telling you that the width of that box or that circle or oval is the same exact width as your center. So I can always check back up here. We can make our adjustments. So where it's 4 by 5 and now our format painter tool. I don't want to have to click back on this, try and remember what the thickness was and all that. So if I go to the top left of the home tab, there's the format painter button, which is your paintbrush. If you click that and then click on the oval, it will change the properties to match of the object that you had selected first. So to just reiterate that, I grab my center, I click the paint icon, and then I click the oval and it changes those properties right over. Well, now I want to start building out the rest of my offensive line. Do not come back up here and draw another oval and format paint. You've already got the properties set. So now I want to hold down the control key. And when I hold control and I click and drag, that will actually duplicate that object if you continue to hold down control. And then when you release the mouse, release control, you've duplicated that object. So that's great. The next step to go over is I want to hold down Control and Shift and then click and drag. What that does is that's going to allow me to click and drag that shape and it stays on that same horizontal plane. And then I can evenly space it with my little guides that popped up right there. So now I've easily created an offensive line just by clicking and dragging and holding down that Control Shift key. This is great when you start dropping in defenders because now I can get my entire defensive line on the same exact plane. And you've easily just taken that and dropped it in. If you want to adjust the spacing, what I love is the distribute horizontal and distribute vertical buttons. So what those are going to do is I've got 5 offensive linemen here. Well, let's say I wanted to tighten this down. So I want to space the guards and the center to be distributed evenly across the middle of all these objects. So what you'll do is highlight everybody. A couple things you can do is go to Arrange, Align, and Distribute horizontally. Or if you build it on your quick access toolbar, for me, I just go to Alt-6, and now that is going to distribute those shapes evenly across the board right there. So with that ease, I've been able to create my 5 offensive linemen. And then if you group them together, well, now you've got them set in a different wherever you want. So to ungroup those, Control Shift G in PowerPoint. I get my Visio and PowerPoint shortcuts mixed up a good bit. So Control Shift G will ungroup it. So now I want to create my X receiver. So I'm going to hold down Control Shift, click and drag, take him out there. I'll grab my Z, slide him out there. We're going to take this guy. He's my tight end. Grab this guy. He's going to be in the gun. There's my back. And then I want one more receiver. And I want him to split the difference between the tackle and the Z and the X, Z, wherever he is. So highlight, distribute horizontally. Now it's put that receiver right there in between. Next up, I want to start color coding everything for me. So receivers are red. All right. I'm going to grab this guy, and I want to align him evenly with my S that's off the ball. So I can go up here to Arrange, Align, and here is the kicker. with using the align tool. If you choose one object, it's going to allow you to align that object with the slide. So why would I want to do that? Let's say I wanted to grab the entire offensive line and the X receiver to the right. I can highlight them, and if I go to group, that's one object. So now I can go to arrange, align, and if I choose center, it puts them in the center of the page, which you can see right there. That's what it does. So I'm going to go Control Z, and this time I'm going to go to arrange, align, and choose middle. This now put all of them in the middle of my page. And that's really the middle of my page for my starting point for my offense. So you start to kind of figure out how you want your drawings to look and format and fit and feel. So essentially, if I group everybody together, I can go to arrange, align, and I'm hitting the A key on my keyboard. So if you ever see an underlined letter, that's the shortcut when you get into a menu. So now I can choose align center, arrange, align middle. So now I've put that formation in the middle. So I'll ungroup it. And now let's say I want to take this Z receiver, which I'll change my font here in just a second. So I'm going to take the Z and I want to align him with the S. In Visio, the first object that you grab, that's what it will lock essentially and align to. PowerPoint's a little different. It looks at both objects. So now if I choose align bottom, it's going to align the uppermost object to the bottom of the bottommost object. Took me a minute to figure it out, but once I did, I was golden. So if I grab this receiver and the receiver to the left, I can go to align bottom. So now I've aligned my Z receiver directly to my S. Well, now I want to start working on my text for these guys. So I'm going to highlight, I go into my text, I make everybody black. So now when I type in Z, there's the Z receiver. And I've also got everybody underlined, so I can highlight everybody, go to you. So there's my Z, I'm sorry, S. Here's my X after I've ungrouped it. All right, here's my running back. Here's my quarterback. There's my Y. Now I want to start dropping in color codes. So I can single click the X, go up here to shape fill, choose red, or I can grab all those receivers at the same exact time, choose the shape fill, drop that in. Well, let's say I've already got the X set. Now I could just go up here to my format painter tool and click the S, and that will take that. Your shortcut for format painter, it's not the specific format painter button. What you're able to do is copy the properties and paste it. Everybody knows, well, I won't say that. Most people know to copy, it's Control C. To paste is Control V. If I go Control Shift and C, that will copy that property. Now I can click the Z, Control Shift V, and that will paste that property right there. So once you figure out those shortcuts, that's really what helps you kind of speed things up. So we'll go back to yellow. So there's my offense, all 22 set up. So now I want to start adding a defense. So I'm just going to take these guys, and let's say I wanted to slide this down. Well, same thing that we did before. If you hold down the Shift key instead of Control, now you can slide that down and it will go down that vertical plane. If I go left to right, it will keep it on the same horizontal plane. So that Shift, Control, clicking and dragging is a major, major win. Now let's start talking defensive text boxes. Coach Katz, any questions so far?
We're good, Coach. Keep rolling.
All right, here we go. So I'm going to insert a text box. All right, so I always start with the R, which is my rush, which is my strong side defensive end. So I'm going to zoom in right here. Coach Robinson gave me a great nugget today, and one of the things he wanted to talk about was understanding how to click and move text. So you have to think of this text box as an object. If I click on the R and I try and move him, he's not going to go anywhere. You have to physically grab the actual outline of that object to then click, drag, and move it. Well, how do I standardize my look to where everything looks the same and it's a uniform shape type of deal? So what you'll do is you'll click on the edge of the object, right click, and go down to Format Shape. Hidden over here is text options, and then it's this little guy right here, the specific text box. When you grab that, set your vertical alignment to middle and set the text direction, obviously, is horizontal. But what I love to do is change my left margin to 0, right margin to 0, top and bottoms also go. I do not want to wrap the text in the shape. So I can uncheck that. And then I do not want to auto fit. The reason I don't want to auto fit is, let's say I get this text box, and here's another shortcut. Control Shift period will increase that text. Control Shift comma will decrease that text. If that's the only thing you learned tonight, I hope that helps. So I get my rush. I'm going to set them out. I've got this exactly where I want, and then I put that guy right here in the middle to center that content. Because now I've created a box to where inside of my drawing, if I go to grab these guys, it doesn't select this. If you want to grab an object, you have to highlight that entire object. So if you make the vertical line to be just outside your text, you kind of start to understand where you're going to click that object. So now it turns into, how can I create 10 other guys? Control, Shift, click and drag. There's my 3 technique. Here's my nose. Here's my end. And then if you triple click, 1, 2, 3, that will grab that entire text box, because in PowerPoint, if you single click it and try and type, it will append it to the end. It always gets me every time, so I just triple click it to grab that. So now I've got these guys. I'm going to hold down Control, take this. So now I've got my Will, my Mike, my Sam, my corner. So he's going to slide out here because I've already drawn him once. Control, click, Shift, and drag, bring that over. And now you've got to make a decision for your free safety, strong safeties. You could use F, you could use S, you could use the nickel money symbol, whatever it is that you want. But I try to give myself just a little bit more of a hair right there on the outside for my safeties. So that way I know exactly where to click them. So here's my strong safety. And then the last thing I do, I figure out what font that I want to use. Right now on Aptos, if I go Times New Roman, it changes it, gives you that old school classic feel to it. Control B to bold it. My fat fingers hit N. That's why I dropped that in. So there's my all 22 setup. I've got that locked, loaded, and that's basically what I would use to really start to draw everything from scratch. And that's the PowerPoint that I slide over to the right side of my screen. So I come in here, I go to, this is my all 22 slide. Okay, let's say I'm a defensive guy and I want to flip this. Control D, if you click on the slide, will duplicate the slide. Well, why didn't you go Control C, Control V? That's 2 mouse types. Well, if you do that over the course of 365 days, it's going to be twice as many times as you do it just by going Control D. The whole point is you're just trying to save time. So I go Control D. So now I go Control A, which is select all, and now I want to group it. So I've grouped it. I'm going to use my shortcuts here for flip vertical, flip horizontal. So I'm going to go to Alt 1. That will flip it vertical. Now, if I wanted to flip it horizontal, I can go Alt 2. All right, so I flipped it. Well, cool. Now everything is upside down. If you had a scout team like I do, your 3 technique is looking at an upside down T, and he's probably confused. Let me help you out, old dummy Ray. So if that's the case, you ungroup it, Control Shift G. So now I've selected all of the individual objects. Now I can go Alt 1 and flip it again. And now I've taken that entire document and I've flipped everything, but now my text is in the correct orientation. So if I want to flip an entire drawing, group it all together. If I want to flip individual objects, you make sure that it's ungrouped and it will flip everything individually right there. So now here's my all 22 from a defensive standpoint. There we go. All right. Then we're going to start drawing our routes. And I think I'm 33 minutes in. So I think I'm on pace right now. So we're going to start drawing some routes with this. So I'm going to go back. We're going to duplicate this little guy right here. I'm going to delete my defense. All right. Let's say you wanted to draw with a field background. Well, at the end of this, if you stay on, we will post a couple field backgrounds just as a thank you. There's a college midfield, a high school midfield. I believe there's like a run scout card type of look. And then there's a generic just offensive line that you can use however you want. And, if you're using scout cards, you throw it in as a background. Well, how do I add a background? If you've got that file, I'm just going to go here to insert pictures from this device. So this is going to open up my little menu here. I've got all mine saved in the Pro Quick Draw folder. So I go field backgrounds, PowerPoint. I'm going to go into 16:9 because that is the size of my diagram. I'm going to grab my NFHS midfield. So now I've inserted that picture. But hold up. If you insert a picture, it is a clickable object now that you can then move and adjust, which is the biggest pain in the tail when you're drawing. Because as soon as you click that picture and you didn't want to and you moved it, you're in a Control-Z marathon with everything. So one of the best things that you can do is you insert your picture, right-click and copy it, or cut, whichever you prefer. And now I'm in Format Background. So if you right-click, you can go to Format Background. I want to choose Picture, Texture, Fill, and just choose Clipboard. So now I've added that field background directly to my page, but I cannot click it anymore. So now I just take my offensive line. We're going to drag and drop everybody. And basically what I want to start to do is I want to build a receiver route tree over here on the right side of the screen. I'm going to clear that out. We're going to go to our favorite tool in PowerPoint that really changed everything for me, that made me flip from Visio to PowerPoint. And it's our freeform tool. I call it the racetrack, call it Pac-Man, whatever it is, just remember which one it is. So you're going to go up here to shapes. Up at the top, it's always in my recently used, but it's always in the lines category. And if you hover over it, it'll tell you the freeform shape. So I'm going to select that. And the way this shape works is I'm going to single click to start a point, and I'm going to double click, and that's how you end the line. So I'm just going to draw a straight line going vertical. So I single click, it's going up here vertical, but if I hold down the shift key, that will put it right there up at 0 degrees. Well, what if I wanted to go 45? Well, you just take it and go a little bit further out. Whichever degree you're closest to, it's going to stay on that 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever it is, 3 o'clock. Anyways, so it's going to stay right there on those percentages. Thank you, Jesse. So if I hold down the shift key, I'm going to go straight up in the air and double click to finish. So I've made that line. What about the thickness? What about the end arrow? This is where you start to decide what you want that to look like. So there's my vertical. So every drawing I'm going to have, that's what it looks like. So I'm going to grab this. We're going to go up here to shape outline, and I'm in the shape format. You can also go to home. If you build out your football tab, you can go there. So I'm going to shape outline. I'm going off personnel. It's going to be red. Got it as red. Go back to shape outline. Now I'm going to get my weight. What weight do you want to use? You find whichever one looks good for you. We're going to go with 3. And then the last part is going to be the arrows. This is a big decision for folks. Figuring out which arrow that you want to use, and whichever one you get, stick with it so your playbook looks the same no matter where you go. But if you go down to more, it's going to pop your menu over here on the right side, and now you got a couple other different things that you can do. Cap type, join type. Cap type is going to be basically the end of that cap, and what does it look like? If you don't know how to zoom, hold down the control key, take your mouse wheel, and go up and down. Whatever object you have selected in PowerPoint, that's where it's going to zoom to. So it's going right there to the middle. So right now, my cap type is set to flat. If I choose round, now you're going to have a rounded edge to it. This may seem like something dumb, but man, does it make a difference when you start trying to keep everything uniform and clean. Me, I'm a flat guy with that. And then the join type is going to make a big difference when I start drawing curved lines, but I like round, just my personal preference. So I'm going to choose round. Down here is where you've got your beginning arrow size, end arrow size. What's the beginning? What's the end? The first click that you started, that's the beginning. The spot you double clicked, that's the end. So I'm going to go to my end arrow type. I'm going to choose which one I want. I like that guy. My end arrow size, you can start to tinker with these however you want it to look. Zoom back out. You start to kind of get a feel of what you want. Same thing. All right, I'm going to go with this guy. I like him. PowerPoint's got a great little nugget here again. Right click, set as default shape. So now we're going to go back to our draw tool, and I want to draw a dig at 12 yards. If you get really anal with your drawings, this is a good little nugget again. But I've got that little dot right there that represents the starting point. So I'm going to single click right there, and I'm holding down the shift key, and I'm going to get to 12. Single click again, and I've added a point to that line. So now I can draw a dig. So if I hold down the shift key, here's my dig. Double click to finish. That's it. We're going to go back to shapes. Go back here, free form. Go back to the beginning of my line. Now I want to post. Breaking points at 12. Click right there. Yep. There's my shift key at that negative 45-degree angle. Double click to finish. Now I want to curl. There's 1,000 different ways to draw a curl. We're going to keep it simple tonight. Go right there. It's at 10 yards. There it is. Why am I building everything on top of each other? Because now when I need a curl route, if you click right here, yeah, it's going to grab the curl. Well, what if I want to dig? Now you got to grab that. By having everything stacked on top of each other, you just need to grab the end of that line and however you want it. So then you can start to copy and paste that. So there's my inside breaking routes, keeping it simple. Once I've drawn one, you kind of get a good idea in a picture. What if I've got a post corner? We're just going to add another point. So I'm going to click my freeform, single click to start. We're going to get to 12. He's going to go right here. I'm going to click again, and now I've got my post corner. So I'm using all of the lines that I've already created really as my guide point to having everything look uniform. So there you go. There's how you add another point. What if I want to draw a shallow cross going across here? It was complete banana land for me when I first started drawing in PowerPoint, because I always thought I had to use these curved lines right here, the arc tool, this little curve tool. I'm not even going to show you because it's that much of a pain in the ass. So I'm just going to go back to freeform, and I'm going to single click to start. And I'm not going to start clicking in different points in here. You look like you don't know what you're doing. So I'm going to go back. Sorry if I insulted anybody, my bad. So I'm going to go back to freeform shape. I'm going to start down here at the bottom, and I'm going to single click to start, and I want this thing to finish right here at about 6 yards. Double click to finish. Well, that's a straight line. Right click, and now choose edit points, or hit E on your keyboard for edit. That will now open up 2 new black little boxes on your drawing. These are your starting points and your end point. I always start with the end. If you single click that black box right there, that's going to open up a brand new little curvature tool. You can click and drag that curvature tool to get it exactly the way you want. So I like my guy to be a little flat right there at the end. And then I can single click this. And now I can adjust that curvature to get it exactly the way I want. So now I've drawn a shallow cross going right across the middle of the field, and it's very smooth. And if you want this thing to be at 4 or 5, you'd click that line and just adjust your bubble up there at the top. And now you can adjust the depth of however far you want that guy going across the field. The next one, that's always a beast. and I'm going to draw two of them. I'm going to draw a bubble, and I'm going to draw the speed out to a wheel. Go back to shapes. We're going to start, and I'm not going to start up here at the top, but you could, depends where you want. I'm going to start in the middle. So this is where I want him to start, and this is where I want him to finish. Right click, E to edit. I start with my ending, so I want him going up the field. Ooh, buddy, what's he doing there? There we go. So now I can click this one and adjust it. So there's my bubble going out the back. And if you see the little red line that's over the top of my S right there. If you don't like that, you send it to the back. And now you've got your lines. And if I grab my X and bring him to the front, all of your lines are underneath your players. So you can easily keep your drawings clean doing that. You go up to shapes, grab a freeform, and now I want to draw a wheel. Same thing, I'm going to start at the top. I want him to finish up here going down the edge of the sideline. Right click, E to edit. This is where I want him to finish. And then depending on however you want that curve to look on that speed out, you can make your adjustments right there. So now he's going out and up. So I basically just created a quick little mini route tree right there for my X receiver. Well, now just delete your offense. Now here's your X receiver route tree. Then you build the same for all of your slot routes. Build your tight end routes. Build your running back routes. And you use the field as your guideline to give you that distance for all of your drawings right there. Keeping it simple. So if you've got a college field, honestly, it's just really the difference is your hash marks. The distance down the field is still the exact same. So use your little route tree to build out those shapes. You can build out all your motions, do the same. The only difference is you just change your line from a solid line down to a dash type and choose whichever dash that you think looks best if you're drawing a motion or anything like that. And then I like to put a dot on the edge of the line for my motion. So I would go to my end arrow, choose a dot. Up to you, however you want those things to look and scale and fit and feel. So freeform tool, the best thing that you could use when drawing PowerPoint. So set your line, get the width that you want, get the color that you want, right click, set as default shape, and start drawing. Because what that'll allow you to do is that, let's say if you've got 12 personnel, you got 2 tight ends, you can copy and paste your line, or if you've already got 1 tight end line drawn, just click, copy, drag it, redraw it, right click, set as default. Now you got a blue line that you're drawing with every time. So those little nuggets should help you to be able to start drawing and using the freeform tool to really clean that up. Now let's get into building a template. We get folks all the time hitting our website, wanting to build a template. How do I build this? You'll see some Twitter posts. Coach, can you send me that? Learn how to draw templates. It's outstanding because that's where you can really start to carry this over. Like I said, the iPad before. So let's say I wanted to draw just a simple 6-box and I wanted to put an offensive line because I may print these out, give them to your players. I may put it on my iPad. I may watch games on the weekend. I wanted to draw something out. I may post to Twitter, whatever it is that you want to do. So we're going to go Control N, start new. So I got a brand new PowerPoint. First thing I'm going to do, what's my page size? Well, this is what I want to use to print out for players. So I'm going to go up here to Design, Slide Size, Custom, choose our drop down for letter paper and portrait. Ensure fit, we're good to go. All right, up at the top, I like to add a text box that is the title of my page. I always go to my rectangle tool. So I can take this, and now if I go to Align Top, it's at the top of the page, then I just drag that guy out. Then I make my shape text whatever I want. Title goes up here at the top. All right. The distribute vertical and horizontal buttons play a key piece into this moving forward. So I want to set this as a black line going right there. And I'm going to build another rectangle that's going to go around the entire edge of the page. And I like that because it gives me a uniform border instead of me trying to align and distribute. So we take that, we build it, we go all the way down to the edge, shape outline becomes black, the weight becomes 2 1/4, shape fill becomes none. Next up, I want to build out my lines to give me my 6 boxes. Because I've already got a line up here at the top, I hold down the shift key and I drag that to the edge, because having this line, it's what's going to allow me to distribute vertically and horizontally. If you try and distribute off of the rectangle, it's not going to distribute right because it looks at the entire shape. So these are really just guides to get going. So make them black. I'm going to grab one more to give me my first row of drawings. Control Shift, click. Here's my second row of drawings. So I got 1, 2, and 3. Multiply that by 2. If my math is right, I'll have 6. So I'm going to grab these 2 guys by holding the control key, drag it right there. So now it's in the edge there. I'm going to take them and group them. So now if I've grouped them, I can take that line and go all the way across. Make sure you ungroup it. So I'm going to grab the top line, second, third, fourth, go distribute vertically. Now I've created 3 boxes that are all the exact same size. Then I can come over here and grab this line and take him and stretch him going down. And then I want to make sure that he's now splitting that side. So now this guy's going in the middle, this guy's going up top. Grab this, go all the way down to the bottom. All right, and then I can go to arrange line center, and that drops it in, or you could go distribute horizontally with those lines. So the key with distributing is make a line for the top of your box, and then decide however many you want in between, and then make sure you got one at the bottom. Very key to making sure that you've got even boxes. Okay, so now I can Control A and group everything. Well, why would I want to particularly group that? Let's say if I group it without the title. Well, now I can grab my edge box, and if you want, you can slide that up and send it to the back. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm grabbing a sheet that I can then standardize and use as the background of my drawing. So that way you never mess with the actual boxes. So we group it, we right click, we cut, format background, picture, clipboard, and now you've standardized your boxes to where you won't click them. So now you can duplicate this sheet as many times as you want and go file print, and you got yourself 6 boxes right there. Now let's take it one step further. So I'm just going to Control Z this to get it back to my boxes. I want to add an offensive line here. So we're going back to our boxes. All right, we're going to zoom in. We've got that. We're going to make sure our shape fill is white and shape outline is black. We're good to go. What's my size? 0.3 by 0.3. So for our square folks out there, here we go. All right. So this is just going to be a little bit bigger than what we need, but you should understand the concept of what I'm trying to do. So we're going back to 0.3, 0.3. Here's our guard. Here's our tackle. Here's our guard. Here's our tackle. Control Shift C. Click, Control, click, 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 Control Shift V, bam, now I dropped it in. Now I can group this. Basically, you figure out your center point. You could use the shape align tool again to get your distribute horizontally. So now I'm just going Control, click, and Shift, and I'm dropping these in. And just from a timing standpoint, I'm going to quickly go through. Control A, group it, right click, cut it, picture format, clipboard. Now you've got those objects standardized. So you could do that with a field background. You could do it with specific players. If you didn't want to have your offensive line and you wanted to add, receivers, DBs, whatever it is that you want. But that's how you can quickly standardize templates using the print. So if I went to my iPad and I was drawing run game schemes of our opponent or top pressures, whatever it is, now I've got that layered into my background. And then you just duplicate this a bunch of times. And when you open up your iPad, you draw right there on it. So what would that look like? Now I can get my draw tool. So let's say they went with block down, block back, pull, there we go, hinge on the backside. So obviously I'm going fast drawing with a mouse, but if you use your iPad, that's how you can start to really use and start to draw by hand with that. So easily able to drop those in. Like I said, if you had a field background, what would that look like? I'm just going to go quick, insert pictures, this device. 6 boxes are always going to be a 4x3 template. 8 boxes are always going to be 16x9. And that's just a field aspect ratio in terms of how it fits. But we can come back down. We'll grab this. So there we go. So now imagine that my offensive line wasn't there and all of these boxes were filled out. You do your cut, you do your paste in your background, you format it. Now you've got a field 6-box drawing. Build 4 boxes, 6, whatever it is that you want. But that's how you layer it in. Don't worry about the objects. Take it in there, get everything set as an entire PowerPoint, cut it, paste it in as the background. All right. So now I'm going to finish with just drawing a basic pattern match and kind of how quick and what you can start to do with it. It's just going to be a curl flat look type of deal from a defensive perspective. Well, I've got my field set in here. So I'm going to duplicate this page. We're going to grab these guys, copy them, paste it in. So here's my diagram. So we're all set. I got 2x2. Now I want to start drawing, and I'm going to use the freeform tool. Obviously, you could copy and paste and all that stuff, but I want to just draw a simple cover 4 versus curl flat and being able to draw quickly with freeform and what that looks like. So I'm going to start on the left side of the screen. We're going to go to shapes, freeform, all right? We're going to draw this guy. So I've got curl flat. So we're going to go up to our 10 mark. And you notice how it's already remembered when you duplicate those slides, whatever the last shape that you set as default, that's what's going to carry over. And that's really what speeds everything up. So we're going to knock this out at 10. Control Z it because I fat clicked it again. So we're going to grab, bam, we're going to 10. Curl, freeform shape, single click to start, double click to finish, right click E to edit. Start at the end of your line. There it is. Click at the beginning of your line. There we go. There's our flat. We grab these 2 guys. I want to bring them to front. Now my lines look clean and underneath. Now we're going with the same concept over here. And I lied. I think I said that was going to be slants. So we'll just go curl flat on both sides. All right. Same thing here. Double click, start it, drop it. However, I've already drawn it once. Don't draw it again. Control, click, shift, and grab. Drop it right there on the Y. Grab the middle bubble. Go all the way across. There you go. Grab this guy. Control, shift, click, and drag. Take the top of your line. Extend it. Alt 2. I've now flipped it horizontally. Just drag them right back. Take this guy, this guy. I'm going Alt 3. Bring them to the front. This line should be blue. Shape object. Make it blue. All right, now we're going outside. Number 3, he's going to push and go out that's to the bubble. So same thing, I can start, click, control, copy, C. I'm going to grab this, go here to there, right click, E for edit. He's going to finish his bubble right there. Just a little swing. That way the mic knows to push. The backer, he's going to align and split the difference. So I can either eyeball it or I can move him in between the S and the tackle. Now I can go distribute horizontally. Now I know he's actually split the difference. So then if you got a smart ass kid, coach, this thing's off by a little bit. Well, not anymore, bud. Here we go. All right. So now he's going to slide back out. He's our D gap right there. This safety's on top of 2. And I'm using that shift key to get everything aligned and going across. There we go. So everybody looks good. I'm going right back to set as default. I want to bring this guy out to the front. And running back routes, if they're yellow, they're hard to see. So I just changed those guys to a black line right there. So now we're going with our defense. We want these guys to be green in terms of what they're doing. Don't judge me on my coaching points and techniques. It's been a long time since I've coached. I'm going off of pure memory here. So it's been a minute. All right, freeform tool. So cover 4. He's going to get vertical, 2's flat. So now maybe he's arching out there. I want to change that line color to go to green. I want to right click and set as default shape. So now once I've done that, he's going to open up. He's on top of 2. He's going to bail. And now he's driving down on the curl. I'm sorry. Yep, down on the curl. I said that right. All right. Same thing here. He's going to get depth. Now he's on top. Same thing here. He's there. Once he sees 2 out, there he is. Okay. Sam is going to get 45. He's off of 2. Now he notices 1's coming in. Now he's underneath the curl. We've got our Mike linebacker. 3 is flat, so he is opening up that direction and he is getting depth. Now I've got my freeform tool again for the Willie. Same thing, he's out here pushing right there. Now let's say I wanted to draw a stunt with my defensive line. So our end, he's going to be the second guy, the nose is going to be the first. So we're drawing a game. The way I identify games for players and to keep it consistent is the player with the straight line always goes first. The player with the curved line always goes second. So now he goes there, we double click to finish, right click E to edit, and now I can grab that middle point, take and stretch it right there. So there's my game on that side, and I've shown just a game, and I've got a consistent setup right there of what that needs to look like. So that's how quick I can start to draw, copy and paste. I've got a pattern match piece right there. But the biggest things is set up your offense first, set up your defense however you want it. Build your own shape library. Copy and paste. Control, click, shift, and drag. Keeps it on a horizontal plane and duplicates the object. Shift and drag. Keeps it on the horizontal plane but does not duplicate the object. Use those little keys to really do a good job and start pulling in everything and drawing it fast. And now the last little part that I'm going to add here before I kick it to Jesse real quick is from a protection and a run game blocking standpoint. I know I didn't dive into this a lot because run game is a beast. However, we have changed how we teach blocking schemes on paper. We use a dot instead of a line end cap, and here's the reason why. I'm just going to grab my line, double click this, and I want this to be a black line with no arrow. Right click, set as default shape. Okay. Let's say I wanted to draw my protection going sliding to the right. So I would do this, and then I would do this, right? Then I have to click and get another line right here, and then you got to start to kind of finagle that thing and get it exactly the way you want. Well, what happens if I group this and then I start to slide it and adjust it? This line right here will extend and not be locked. And to me, it's just too much of a pain. So what we started teaching and drawing run game is we add a dot now to the end of that line. By adding that dot, no matter where he goes, the dot doesn't change sizes. So now if I've got this protection is going this way, control, click, shift, and drag, control, click, shift, and drag. Well, what about my man side? What do I do there? I just go straight back. What did I forget to do? Right click, set as default shape. Shapes, click, click. Double click to finish, control, click, shift, and drag. There's my man side. Now I can highlight my entire offensive line and bring them to the front. And now it looks clean. So whether it's a run block or a protection scheme, we've gone to dots now. If your kid can't tell a difference if a dot is on the outside shoulder or the inside shoulder, you may have bigger problems, in my opinion. But we'll see. Time will tell. But I'm a big fan of the dot now. I think it's at the end of the day, it's less clicks, it's less movements. And if you're here to become more efficient, I would highly advise going that direction because you can always adjust basically the end size of that dot however you want it. Really up to you. Coach Katz, I think, is a diamond guy, if I'm not mistaken. Make it your own, make it clean, but make it consistent. Have a style that all of your coaches draw the same exact way. So take that shape library, pass it off to them. Hey, I want you guys to copy and paste when you do your shapes. Please use these. Let's have a consistent look when we start to draw. And for some of you guys that like the style and the Visio look, but you can't afford Visio or your school doesn't offer it, I'm going to kick it over to Coach Jesse Robinson. Dude is an absolute whiz of taking Visio into PowerPoint and what it looks like. So I'm going to pass that off to him real quick and let him get a six-pack to show you how it works. Just make sure you unmute there, Coach.
All right, sorry about that. Thank you guys. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you guys for being on tonight. Here to show you how you can take your PowerPoint drawings and give it that Visio look. I'm a big Visio user. I've used it for a long time, and until 2020, when I saw Kevin's first PowerPoint webinar, I wasn't a believer. But then I saw the freeform tool and I started using it, and I found a way to make it my own. So I'll dive in. You see my Visio window here on the left side of my screen. I got Trout Right 200 jet steamer. So this play was drawn in Visio. I can take this play and draw it in PowerPoint, and it's going to look like a PowerPoint drawing. And so I'm going to start from the very beginning and kind of fly through. If you guys have any questions, please use the chat. Coach Cass will see it. I can go back and review. So starting, I'm going to grab my offensive line. So I go in my shapes and grab a square. So I'm grabbing my square. I'm also going to go to my football tab here before I get started. Got my football tab open. So I go to create my square. If I hold shift, it's going to keep that square as a true square. If I go to, again, just to create it without holding shift, it can get kind of rectangle, anything you want. So anytime you're creating a circle or a square, you grab what you want, you hold shift, and it'll keep it a perfect square for you. So I'm going to put that here on my line. That's my line of scrimmage. And now I'm going to go back to my football tab. So I've customized this like you've seen earlier with Kevin. And so right now it is 0.5 wide and high. So I'm going to change that to make it custom to what I want. Go 4.3 and go 0.4.3. And so here's my square how I like it. So I'll go back and grab my circle and create the rest of my offensive line and my receivers. Again, I'll click, hold shift. That give me a perfect circle. Get here, go back to my football tab, and I'll make sure that's the same size as 0.4.3, 0.4.3. So now I have it here. I'm just going to duplicate Control D a couple times. Got my guard, my tackle. Control D one more time, get my guard and tackle. So now I'm going to do what Kevin showed you earlier, and I'm going to highlight them all, and I'm going to use my quick access bar, and I'm going to align the top, and I am going to distribute horizontal. So now they're even. I'm going to zoom in, get it perfectly on the left hash. Now I'm going to fill them white, and I'm going to go and I'm going to open my format object pane over here and adjust them, make them a little bit thicker to 2.25. So my offensive line is perfect. Now I am creating the rest of my formation. So I'm going to Control D. Here's my X, Control D again. Quarterback. I have my tailback here. Tight end. Get two more. And here's the rest of my formation for my receivers. So now from here, I'm going to start drawing. I know we got to do a lot more text, but we'll start drawing. And so earlier I set this up. I formatted my shape to my line thickness and the arrows I want to use. So I go up and I get my shapes, freeform shape tool. I'm going to start drawing everything you see here in my Visio window. So I'll click once to start, hold shift to keep it straight, get here to 6 yards, and I'll click. But now another trick I like to use whenever I'm drawing to make sure I'm on the same plane, I'm going to right click, I'm going to turn on my grid. And so I use these uh, grid lines, use my guidelines to make sure I'm kind of hitting where I want to hit. And so I'll go back again, get my freeform tool. I'm going to grab and draw my adjustments here. get to about 8 yards. And then it's a bad line where we draw really quick. Adjustments, 8. And now I'll just keep going and drawing the rest. So I have a lose 2, stick route, freeform tool, click, up to 5, click again, he's out. Now I'm going to draw my steamer seam. So first thing I'm going to draw is my post, which will end up being dotted here eventually. Gives about 12-yard break point. He's there. I'm going to draw my slot fade. Click here. Get to about 3 or 4 yards. There's his break point, and this is where I want him to end. So I'll click here. And we'll get that, and then I'll go back, grab my more lines. I'll click, and I'll grab and draw another hitch. About right here. And then my adjustment for my hitch is going to end up being just like the other one, start from the line of scrimmage. So here's my steamer. So now we can begin to make our adjustments to these routes. And so we're going to go here, here, here. These guys are going to be dotted. So I'll go back into my dots. They're running their adjustments. And so I'll grab these two here. And they are going to have a different end cap. They're stopping right at 8, 9 yards. And I'm going to go with my slot fade. Move him in a little bit so he's sitting on top because he's a primary route. I'm going to right click E for edit points. And now I'm grabbing these black squares to give me the white square. And I can begin to bevel these points to give my slot fade and placing it where I want it. So again, I click here, I grab. I can bevel these lines, move the end cap and bevel some more. And now we have our route built out. And so you can always go and make your adjustments as you're going. If you have your default shape, just build out your route. So I build out my run block here, click, escape, here, freeform tool. And I'm going across, escape, zoom in for my adjustments here. I'll just click and click, and I will change this end cap to none. And I'm not going, for time's sake, I won't make this perfect. But then I'll go and I'll draw his route now here, this check slow. So I'll go and I grab, click where you want to start, click where you want to end. And I can right click and I will edit points. And I can begin to bevel these lines for my check slow route. So we have everything built out. Now it's just a matter of adding this text and recognizing what font and what you want it to look like. And so this here's Courier New. And so now I'm just adding the Courier New using the text boxes as Kevin showed before. And so I'll go and I'll add my route. So this is a Thunder. Click it, drag it out, place it underneath. I'll go to my text options. Click here. We're going to go align this in the middle. Don't shrink, no text wrap. Make all these zeros. I'll go Shift Control comma to shrink my text to 18. But now I'll change this to Courier New, and I'll go into my football tab to make all these changes. So go here, Courier New. Here's my change. Go bold, shrink it down a little bit more. And now I will go back and I'll align this in the center. And now you're just Control D, you're copying and pasting this where you want it. And then I can change all these routes, give them a different name. And so we have our steamer seam, Thunder, we have our stick. We have the rest of our routes, and we're just building. I duplicate again, put my header up top. And this is going to be 11 personnel. Trout, right, 200, jet, steamer. Widen this font. We'll go ahead and change this to a Bookman O style. Go Shift, Control, period to enlarge this. And now we have the beginning of our route. So I can go ahead now, I can go right click, go to my grid, and I can remove my grid line so now it gives me a better look. So now I'll even go ahead and I'll recreate this using this, going Control D. I'll go back here and I will rotate and I can zoom in, I grab my line and place it, and now I have a straight line there. So now I go ahead and add my routes. I'll click in, get my X. Go in and I'll change it, the font to black. Make it Courier New as well. Courier New as well. Bold it. Now I can go Shift Command C. I'll click all these. Go Shift Command V, and I can begin to add their text in. So this is my H, this is my Y, this is my F, and this is my Z. We begin to build in our routes to make them look just like they do in Visio. And the rest of this is now just adding text boxes, duplicating, getting the look and feel for how you want with your routes. So he is 2 by 2 off the ball. You can duplicate. This route is at 6 yards. And now you're just duplicating these and placing them where you want to give you that look and feel that you may see from some of your teams in the league, in the NFL. So here's the majority that's built out. And keep going, build out my progressions. So this is 2 yards. I could change the color. In here, my text color is blue. Underline it, duplicate it. Here's my 2. Here's my 1. First in my progression. Hit it again. Now here's my outlet for my back. So once everything is built, it's all about the details and getting everything how you want it to look. As far as, you're at a numbers +4 on a hash, come here, change the underline, go back, use red, and now you're just duplicating and you are moving guys around and you're changing text. So he is -1 in the numbers. Not duplicate him because he's going to be still +4. Okay, and here is route. It is a check slow. So my quarterback, he's taking a 3-step drop. Control Shift C, Control Shift V. He's dropping. Now I can just draw his line using the freeform tool. Now change his end cap to the dot. So the only thing we're missing is our yes and no for these guys. But again, duplicate, create it, double click the type, and you have your yes, no. You have your red line marker for your seam. And throw another yes, no over here to where we're going to throw it. So about 5 minutes or less, I just recreated a play that's drawn in Visio and PowerPoint, and it has the very close to the same look. make it all the way perfect here. I just click and duplicate and throw my depth on for my post adjustment. So I did that, moving really quick and making a couple of mistakes there, correcting them.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. So the big thing there, really the Visio look, it's just honestly, it's the text box and the line width type of deal. What line width were you using, Coach?
So this line width is a 2.15.
So extremely specific, which is
Yeah.
awesome. But to get that look and feel from Visio, it's the same exact thing. It's just a matter of how you draw, how you get there. So take those little text boxes that you use for yes, no, that your yardage depths, copy and paste those into a shape library of text boxes that you use from a defensive standpoint. You know, your hook dropper, curl flat, quarters, you know, third, middle of the field coverage, middle of the field close, just little things like that. If you draw it once, copy paste it so you can easily pull those things in. I'm going to go ahead and enter the field backgrounds in there. From the standpoint of our webinar, if you're watching this recording at a later date, I appreciate you watching this and thank you. And if you need anything, definitely please hit our website. You can email support@proquickdraw.com. You can email contact@proquickdraw.com in that regards.